Let's try that again. Welcome to our Wednesday live broadcast. So good to have you with us in the room right now. This is happening real time. We are on Corfmullen o'clock. So if you're in the same kind of time zone, then we are live right now. And I'm with my wonderful wife.
Hello.
Here she is.
Hello, I've got a bit of a weird voice today.
She does have a very weird voice.
Sorry.
Bit like Marge Simpson slash like Marge Bishop.
Oh, going for the bish.
There's a reference back. Anyways, just to say, good day. Richard's watching online because he hasn't gone to Wales yet. Still around, kicking about. Still kicking about. Not long now, though. Although we'll talk about that a little bit today. Colin's online. Katie Lurie's online. Good to see you guys. If you are watching, let us know that you're watching with us this morning or this afternoon, 12:30 p.m.
I've had my lunch.
You've had your lunch. What did you have for lunch?
I had a donut.
You had a donut?
Yeah, a ring donut.
Gosh.
Richard brought some donuts in, so I'm making the most of it.
That's going to be the biggest thing I think I'll miss about Richard.
The donut.
The donuts and the food and the good times that we enjoy working together. So just to put you in the kind of loop as to what today is all about, I'm going to take these off. We're going to be talking about all the kind of changes that are coming to Sunnyhill. Over the last few weeks, we've been announcing primarily to Dream Builders and then the wider church, kind of loads of changes that are happening. Hey, Heather, Gil, good to have you in the room. And Adam Bird, good to see you guys. Great to have you online with us. Louise, do you want to say hello to them?
Hello, everyone.
Louise has lost her voice.
I'm sorry, it's so rubbish.
You know,
better than it was, though.
You remind me, you know that scene in Titanic of Rose on the big wooden thing? Go on, do it.
Come back.
You're squeaking. Can you speak louder, please, Luby? Everyone is saying in the chat here, you can't see it, but they're all saying, can she speak up? This is ridiculous.
So sorry. It is better than it was. It is much better than it was. I haven't been very well. I haven't been very well since Saturday. But I'm carrying on.
Come on, you're soldiering on.
Got it.
Joe Mengel's just put into the chat, does Louise really need to be on this broadcast if she's going to speak with an annoying voice like that? She's harsh, isn't she? And she's just come on to leadership. So anyways, the things we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Richard and Charmaine going, which is sad times. We're going to talk about Colin and Joe Mengel jumping onto leadership. Exciting times. Go on, do that again, Luby. Hooray. That's awesome. And we're also going to talk about Lounge One closing as well.
Oh, no. Although, I don't know. It's sad and it's God's doing stuff, so.
Okay, Stephen Wood is asking, he's just saying, is Louise ill or just upset about Richard?
Gosh, maybe I'm ill because I'm upset.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's it. Maybe get more things to blame Richard for. That's what we're looking for right now. Like, just scapegoat.
True.
So that works, yeah.
Richard's saying, I will miss Richard's donuts too. Oh, wait, I won't. Ha, 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 ha. Right, that's the last comment I'm going to feature of Richard Garton's. If you are watching at home, do you know how Bob Marley likes his donuts? We're jamming. What happens to the middle bits of the donuts, by the way?
You could buy them. They're called the donut holes.
The donut holes.
You could buy and eat
dough balls, I guess that's what they were.
Yeah.
Stephen Wood saying, my money would have been on ill and not upset. Stephen Wood doesn't actually think you're upset about Richard going.
Genuinely upset. I remember crying like silently in a meeting because I had to go to work straight after it, and then all day at work I was like that horrible like
those kids.
Sound.
What is that when the kids like so overwhelmed with emotion? They're like,
coping. It was really.
Is there a term for that where you go
depressed? I don't know.
Maybe it is depressed.
I don't know.
Well, there has been many tears are shed here, particularly over the Richard and Charmaine thing, not over the Colin and Joe thing, obviously.
No, happy tears.
So let's start with the Richard and Charmaine thing.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, that's big news.
Big
news, and blindsided almost everybody in church.
I know.
Less so us, because obviously we've been in that journey for the last kind of year or so.
Yeah.
Richard suggesting that we're going to be missing a legend.
Truth, man. I'm not even ready to joke yet. It's true.
Too soon, man.
Richard. Watch yourself. Too soon.
You know, Richard has been such an instrumental part of Sunnyhill to our journey this far. Been with us now. We tried to work it out since like 2014 was kind of the nearest estimation we could work it out to based on the birth of children.
Yeah.
Which kind
Charmaine
of just
was
shows.
Pregnant with Charlie, wasn't she, when they came?
Charmaine was pregnant with Charlie not long after they came to Sunnyhill. And you know what I'm prophesying right now is that she gets pregnant again as they move to Bridgend.
More Lord. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine? I would laugh And I
Oh,
think Richard would hear me all the way in Wales if I
Yeah.
found out.
for sure. For sure.
Not because children are a laughing matter, just because I think Richard wouldn't want another child right now.
No.
But hey, maybe Richard, you want to just write into the comments about how you feel about having another child. That'd be really interesting. But we have been journeying with Richard over the last year, over kind of what this next season's going to look like for him, primarily because we just got a sense early on that things were opening up in our movement for Richard. So for those of you who aren't aware, because we don't often broadcast it because it doesn't necessarily affect us locally day to day, is Sunnyhill Church is affiliated to the Apostolic Church UK. The ACUK is what we call it. And that's a Pentecostal movement that was born in the Welsh revival over 100 years ago. We celebrated our 100-year birthday in 2016.
Good.
And really, it's a Pentecostal movement, and there's about 100 churches across the UK and tens of thousands across the world. It's had a huge impact into the nations. We've got churches in Africa, Australia, New Zealand. That's how our connection with Wayne Swift and Sam Monk, Bruce Monk, those amazing people. But there's apostolic churches all over the world.
Yeah.
And our movement is kind of coming into a new season too. For those of you who aren't aware, I serve on the national leadership team of our movement. So there's about 6 of us kind of who are trying to direct and bring vision and steer this thing called the Apostolic Church, which is a bit like the Titanic in the sense of like, you know,
Whoa,
it's
going
huge
down?
to steer. No, yeah.
It's going sinking. What are we talking like? I'm not sure we could liken the ACUK to the Titanic. People are drowning in it. I don't know. Like people are fleeing it on boats. Like what are we talking about?
Come back. Yeah, that's not a good analogy, is it?
not.
It's not a
It's
good
terrible.
symmetry. Okay,
It's
it's nothing like the Titanic. What I meant is it's like turning the Apostolic Church, it's like turning the Titanic. It takes a bit of time, takes a bit of intention. Not that it's sinking.
Lord, no.
Stephen Woods put into the chat is going, it's going down. And you know, if you're part of the Apostolic Church and you happen to be watching today, it's great to have you online with us. But yes, Richard is going to be going to work for the movement, which is so good. In fact, he's already started 3 days a week working for the movement. And what he's going to basically do for the Apostolic Church is kind of what he's been doing for the last few years at Sunnyhill, stuff that relates to operations and kind of high-level administration and helping the Apostolic Church kind of become all that it can be in God. So it's going to be a great opportunity for them.
Yes.
But they're also moving to Wales.
That's the big bit. Like, yeah, they're moving to Wales, and that feels far away.
And we've spent many pounds and many hours looking into this, and we still, for the life of us, can't work out why you'd ever want to move to Wales. Just joking if you're watching from Wales, but no.
It makes sense though.
It does make sense.
The national movement headquarters is in Wales.
Yeah, the national headquarters. Well, no, it's not actually. The headquarters is in Luton, but our national leader is in Wales.
Yeah.
And an opportunity has opened up in one of our churches, one of our apostolic churches at Brackler Tabernacle. A friend of mine, Craig Hopkins, leads that church. It's a brilliant church. And they're offering Richard 2 days a week. So Richard is going to do 3 days with the AC, 2 days with Brackler Tabernacle. And they're just coming into a new season. And so it's really sad because we love Richard dearly and Charmaine and CJ, Toby, Charlie, just amazing family who have had such a significant investment into Sunnyhill. And Joe Mengel's kind of just vouching for Wales. Love Wales. Whereabouts are you going, Richard? I think I like to call it West England. That's what I like to call it.
England.
I don't know why I never get a preaching invite to Wales.
I wonder.
It's weird, isn't it?
I wonder. I look forward to Richard and Charmaine having a slight Welsh accent to add to their South African English. Like, I think that would be brilliant. I look forward to seeing him.
Could you try and picture and imagine? Go on, just say hello from Richard, like in a Welsh South African.
Hello, I'm Richard. No, that's just Welsh. That's straight Welsh. Hello, No, I've lost the South African now.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
I'm Richard, and I'm South African.
That's not bad, to be fair.
So
thank goodness Richard isn't moving to India, because that would have been a far more interesting pitch if you were going to do that. So Richard is moving to Bridgend, which is in the south of Wales, which is pretty cool. Lots of kind of in that part of Wales. That's where the Apostolic Church was actually born. Amazing, really.
Yeah,
Stephen Wood saying, Richard is such a legend. Looking forward to Richard having Welsh-sounding children. Yeah.
Yes, because they don't sound very South African.
No.
So it's going to be great because they will end up sounding Welsh, which I love.
Hopefully. Your Welsh accent's awesome, isn't
I
it?
love the Welsh accent.
Yeah, it's great.
Sometimes when people from like telesales call me, and if they're from Wales or from Newcastle, I'll just like listen anyway, pretend like I'm interested just because I like the voice.
Yeah, well, Katie Lure is saying that she loves Wales too.
Yeah, there we go.
She says she's got some amazing friends there, and Richard. So that's
there
cool.
we go. Add him into the list of people that she knows there.
Yeah, amazing friends. And there's Richard as well, which is cool. But yeah, so obviously we're kind of processing that news. Like I say, maybe a surprise to some of you, well, to most of you, I should think. But we're really believing that kind of this is God's doing, and it's marvelous in our eyes. He's opened something up, and I think Rich and Charmaine are ready for a new challenge. But it does leave us with some kind of gaps at Sunnyhill, some voids, some holes that we're needing to fill. But yeah, really want to know if you've got any questions on that side of what's going on at the moment in Sunnyhill. If you've got any questions about Richard and Charmaine going, then we'd love to kind of just try to respond to that and speak to that right now live in real time. But over the course of the last year as well, like these two things have been happening at the same time, is God's been laying on our heart a desire to kind of expand the leadership team and bring greater clarity to the leadership structure and approach to Sunnyhill, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Do you want to speak into this?
We should definitely make it very clear that Richard going and Colin and Joe coming on at that time are not connected.
No.
That actually we planned to extend and expand this leadership team for some time. Richard isn't going because he doesn't want to work with Colin and Joe.
Yeah.
And with Colin and Joe are stepping on at this season at this time because we were planning to do that anyway. The time
I rang Richard. I was like, hey, Richard, just to let you know that Colin and Joe are coming on leadership. Then Richard.
He's like,
hello? Well, now Phil's gone.
What? Who's that? Who's that now?
Now Phil's gone. What, Colin and Joe? I'm out of here. No, not at all.
No, the two are disconnected. But connected in the sense that we both felt a shift that something different was happening in the season for Sunnyhill.
Yeah.
And for sure, you've had a real burden since, before January. I know that you had it in your goals from January onwards.
Yes.
That you were going to rebuild the structure of the leadership team.
Yes.
And God is so good that he sort of made ways appear for that to happen.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because when I set out to this, I even did a 3-day retreat where I was praying and studying into eldership and leadership. And at that time, I didn't know what was going to be ahead of me in the year. Yeah, that's right. I thought it would be adding to, but in God's good wisdom, all these things were kind of unfolding, and then obviously Jake stepping into Youth for Christ, which is cool, and then Richard. But it's just a very interesting kind of season because 3 greats, Phil, Jake, four, Jake and Sophie, and Richard Garton, all in 18-month window. I have a question. Are things toxic? Are things toxic since Louise came on team? That's the question I have.
No, what we've laughed about is that it took everybody else to quit Sunnyhill before I managed to get a job working for Sunnyhill. Like, I've not been paid by Sunnyhill. It needed everybody else to give up before I was deemed.
It started in the trustees meeting where we were like, oh my gosh, there's no one left. We're totally desperate. Caleb is too young to employ. Louise, what are you doing with your life?
I know, it's good. I mean, it's true though. It's hard, isn't it? No, I mean, are we toxic? No, I hope not. I don't think we are. I think we've got really great relationship with all of these people, with Jake and with Sophie and with Phil and now with Richard. Like, these are family to us. They're not just staff. And so it hurts when for them when they go and for us when they go. Like, it still feels like that. It doesn't feel like there's...
That's what I've been saying. I think Phil, Jake and Richard. Phil's a great mate. Richard's a great mate, and Jake's only down the road.
He's just here, isn't he? You can't go anywhere else.
Well, that's the thing, is like, it's hard to journey people to that point where actually, I think what's really helpful is that if you haven't seen it, watch the Fire Mountain episode from Sunday night, which was exclusively about kind of Richard's journey from the horse's mouth, where he's sharing his heart. And hopefully when you watch that, there's a sense of love and affection being conveyed, and a sense of heartbrokenness as well about the whole thing, but ultimately believing that God is just doing something different in this season.
And I know we don't like to blame COVID because COVID gets a bad rap, right? But I think COVID did present the church and present people with just a step back and a point to reevaluate and review. And lots of people in this season have felt a shift to a different work-life balance,
Yeah.
or a different job completely. The people have moved house as a result of it. Like, it did just cause a bit of an unsettling in people enough to go, okay, do I still want this exact life to go back to how it was? Or do I want something a bit different now? Is God doing something different now?
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And just on that, Louise, I've got some news I want to share today.
Yeah, go on then.
I just feel like God's calling me to Hawaii.
I'm in it.
No. This was a.
Is it singular?
This was like
solo mission.
This is like one of those partings in the New Testament in Acts, where it's like,
you go this way.
You go. I mean, I love you, but I'm just feeling the call to hula hula. Stephen Wood, thank you, Stephen Wood. He's saying releasing to the movement, something to be celebrated. You've been doing it for years.
Oh, that's good. That's true. To be fair,
Sunnyhill
has fed very well into the movement.
Yeah.
We've Phil into the movement, Tom Workman into the movement, and now
Stephen Wood as well, up into Smallthorne.
Still not over that either. Stephen Wood. There's just been so many. We've been a bit of a
apostolic church.
That's exactly right.
Which is who we are.
That's true. That's very true.
And this is the challenge, I think, with apostolic ministry, or if you like, kingdom business, is you see like Paul recounting moments where there's tears in the eyes of leaders in the ports as he's saying goodbye to churches and just not knowing whether they're going to see each other again. Obviously, we're in a different time now, and travel is a lot more
there's always
easy and less dangerous. But like, there is this sense that like the kingdom is never about just being settled and never about doing the same old. It's about movement.
Yes,
in fact, that's what we call the church, and it's a movement. And we shout that, don't we, in one of our worship songs? We are a movement, don't stop moving. Like, we are a moving people, which means that with movement, it requires a sense of a lot of hellos and a lot of goodbyes. But it's part of the business that we're a part of. So
that's something that we've learned as well, is just to grieve every goodbye.
Yeah.
Haven't we? We've really learned that, because if you don't grieve your goodbyes, then they get stuck somewhere, and then you get bitter and angry and hurt. So for sure, we have to, as leaders, and Sunnyhill will have to too. It's just grieve the loss of what it means to wave goodbye to Richard and Charmaine and what their season represented for Sunnyhill, because you kind of have to say goodbye to something before you're ready to then embrace something new.
So good. It's such an important principle for life, that like to grieve, it says in the scriptures, to let go of everything so that you may attain what is to come. So we don't let go with an indifference or with a sense of like bitterness. We let go cheerfully, knowing that like God has something else in store for them and something new in store for us. And I've got this way of thinking about these staffing shifts, is that like there was a day when Jake and Sophie weren't here. There was a day when Phil wasn't here. There was a day when Stephen Wood wasn't here. There was a day when Richard Garton wasn't here. And then like the purposes of God leads our path into kind of course with theirs, and now we do have them. But who's ahead of us? Like, who's the next person that we're going to meet that's going to be a real key influencer and move and shaker in the life of Sunnyhill? And I think it just creates a really exciting opportunity and stuff like that. But I think Louise has really kind of said something helpful there about grieving every loss. Most people don't like to grieve because they see it as a negative response to something, but grieving is I think a God-given emotion. And actually mourning allows you to experience like it says blessed are those who mourn. There's a blessing in mourning, because you're actually coming face to face with your emotions and with your feelings. And generally blokes are bad with this, but I spent like so long grieving Richard. It took me about 6 minutes, and I just remember every minute.
Stop. You've got some grief to do.
It's too soon?
Too soon.
Well, like I say, it's been a year-long process for us, so we're kind of here. But Colin says the best is yet to come.
Come on.
I love that.
Yes.
And he's saying that because he knows that there is
that's yet to come.
He is the best, and he has come.
I'm coming. Yeah, and we're so excited about that change too.
Yeah.
Having Colin and Joe, they're faithful. They've been so instrumental in so many seasons of Sunnyhill's life.
Yeah.
They have just been such a presence and such an influence, and they're just giving of their time, always ready to roll up their sleeves, played some really key roles in some key ministries, and done a lot of stuff that has been really unseen as well. And just such great stock. I mean, they were really, when we were praying about what the leadership team of Sunnyhill would look like, were there from the get-go, really, weren't they, in our hearts from what God was saying. We just knew that it was that kind of character, those characters that we needed to be drawn in closer to the leadership team to now start making decisions and direction and bring leadership and oversight. So we're really excited to have them.
Yeah, I like you say, this is the Bible's really clear about senior leadership / oversight / eldership is that you don't just have any old Tom, Dick and Harry.
That's right.
Actually you're supposed to assess the fruit of their lives,
right,
and even their own domestic set, their marriage, their parenting, just their behaviors, their habits. All of these things are key considerations when you're bringing somebody into a significant area of authority in the local church, because in some way leaders become models for people.
Sure.
As Paul says in the scriptures, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Like there's this sense of giving people a visual of what it looks like to be a disciple who's passionate about Jesus. That's and the great thing about Colin and Joe, like you say, for years they've served faithfully.
That's right,
and it's like that was their, if you like, their job interview. That was their credentials in the making, was the fact that they didn't just show up and seem quite wise and seem quite leadership clever.
No.
They demonstrated through their servant-heartedness, and most people at Sunnyhill have been influenced or impacted by their existence. And so, and just to say, there's going to be more. We are going to add to the leadership in due course as well. But we were just really keen to bring them on sooner rather than later, because we had a total confidence and peace about their kind of presence on the team.
And we applied scrutiny, like the Bible says, test, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we did test. We sat down and we had some questions for Colin and Joe. We went round. We had soup. That was nice. And we had a long time talking, wrestling over theology and practice and lifestyle and like marriage and family and all these things that are massively important to how we as leaders outwork our faith in our lives.
Yeah.
And so there was a measure of testing that Colin and Joe had to go through, and they were so humble and so open with all of what they shared.
Can I just say that when we were leaving, that Louise said, I can't believe you asked some of those questions.
So embarrassing.
And I was like, well, that was the opportunity.
Yeah, it was a measure of scrutiny definitely applied. And so we're really confident that we've got the right people.
You're so good.
The table. So we're really excited.
Alan Cook's acknowledging, glad to see you dressed up for the event, Dom. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Well, to be fair, you look quite camouflaged into the black.
Well, Richard normally sits here for Fire Mountain.
Okay.
So I thought I need to look black. I need a cap. I need a big kind of facial.
I like the fact that Alan thinks you need to be smart for this, though.
Well, what he doesn't realise is that you're wearing one of the jumpers I bought from Sainsbury's. I don't care what anyone says. What Louise is wearing is definitely a men's jumper, and it would have suited me. Yes, it looks a bit dress-like, but I'm totally secure in who I am. Oh, Stephen Wood's got a suggestion here. Adding to leadership curveball, the return of Stephen Wood.
He's coming home.
Oh, that would be fun, wouldn't it? That said, Stephen and Leah are visiting at the end of this month.
Wait,
it's going to be great, isn't it? End of November. 27th of November, Stephen and Leah Wood are going to be coming through Pool Campus. And it's going to be exciting because if you're not aware, I think most of you are, Leah is pregnant, which is great.
So I can't wait to see Stephen as a dad and Leah as a mum. I think they'll be brilliant. I think they'll be phenomenal. It'll be so good.
I was like best man at their wedding, and I did a little skit around like, what kind of person would do this? Stephen Wood, as in using his last name to kind of speak to Stephen's kind of personality. And I was thinking and then at the end of my speech, I said, what kind of mug would marry a chump like this? Leah Wood.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, there we go.
But now I'm thinking, what kind of couple get pregnant in their first year of marriage? Stephen and Leah Wood. Nice. Just a thought. Yes. But Stephen Wood says, please pray. But if you do have any questions, please fire them into here. If you've got questions, and nothing's off limits. I mean, if it's really inappropriate, then we'll just decide to probably answer it, to be honest, but we might not. But whack it in there, because this is the opportunity. We just want to kind of create an opportunity for a bit of conversation and transparency ultimately. So Colin and Joe coming on team. That's starting immediately.
Yeah.
We've got our first SLT meeting this Friday, our proper one, although we've already had a couple. But this is the one where it's back in. Fru's back as well from Jamaica, man. Jamaica.
We're all together again.
Sam Mead saying was a great wedding, to be fair. Yeah.
It was great.
It was fun.
Sam Mead at that wedding.
Yeah, it's
cool.
cool.
Enjoyed that wedding.
Sam Mead, the legend. Okay, cool. Which brings us on to the third thing as well. So feel free to put your questions in the comments.
So
put
all
your
this
questions
went
in the
out.
comments.
All this went out in an email, didn't it? So the stuff we're talking about today has gone out.
Yeah.
Communicated as an email and went out this morning.
Yes.
But also
to Dream Builders, yeah. So just for those of you who aren't in the know, we have Dream Builders at Sunnyhill. That is akin to church membership, ultimately, a fairly age-old practice that we've reimagined for 2022. And really, Dream Builders is about recognizing those who don't just go to Sunnyhill Church on a Sunday, but actually are part of Sunnyhill, who want to be integral to the building of Sunnyhill. And so really, the commitment we invite Dream Builders to make is that we're going to pray into the vision, we're going to serve into the vision, and we're going to sow into the vision. What are they, Luby?
Pray, serve, sow.
Pray, serve, sow. Let's go. You should write a song, Luby, about it. Go on, try.
No.
In your nice Rod Stewart female.
It's too bad. No. I can't sing anyway. I can't even sing when I don't have a voice like this.
Okay.
It's getting worse.
I quite like it. In fact, to be fair, I can't get the video on, but I can certainly play.
What are you doing?
I'm just going to show you. What's this?
What is it? I don't have headphones on.
You don't? It's all right.
Come back. Come back.
I thought that might be like when Richard moves to Wales and we're struggling in the pits of Planning Centre Online and pro presenter Louise weeping after a Sunday service.
Come back.
Kind of suits.
I do sound like I've been sat on a door next to an iceberg.
I was going to say, wait, sat on a door? Why would a door do that?
Door.
Yeah, she was. Okay, anyways. So with our Dream Builders, we also want to honour their commitment and investment to Sunnyhill as well. So we try to fill them in and journey them more into kind of some of the things that are unfolding ongoingly. And then, so we try to give them the why, and the wider church, we give the what. But this morning to the wider church, we announced, this is sad news, that Lounge One is going to be closing come Christmas.
I look forward to not having to write any more emails like that. Because it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, Lounge One is closing. It's been a tough couple of years for Lounge One.
Yeah.
It's been a tough couple of years for most business owners. But Lounge One is an independent cafe in an area of the town that's not particularly known for having, I don't know, lots of affluent people living and visiting it. It's really struggled financially.
Yeah.
And it's become more apparent over time that that's not going to get any better.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for us, Lounge One, we want you to know that the financial considerations are there, obviously, because we don't want to be in a position where we're propping up Lounge One and using church finances to do so ongoingly without any obvious strategy or way of coming out of that economic downturn, so to speak. But finances aren't the only consideration. I think it's important to say that's one of the factors, but it's not the only factor.
When we took on the opportunity of Lounge One, it was never even about the money. We've never made money through Lounge One.
Yeah, that's true.
Known. It's never been something that has. It's always needed Sunnyhill to put extra into it, hasn't it? And that's always been fine because we've wanted to be present in the community. We wanted to be
and have the venue use as well.
We wanted to use the venue. We wanted to use it as a way of reaching the community. So we were never in it to make money out of this business, but it became apparent that it was going to require a lot more finances to even keep it to a standard that is current. Yeah, and that was more than what
we're acknowledging increasing utilities, increasing kind of costs of just materials, staff costs as well. But all that said, you would have picked that up in the email if you subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't subscribe, go to www.sunnyhill.church, scroll to the bottom and subscribe to the newsletter. But, it's important to say that we haven't committed to a future without the venue. We've just committed to not having a Lounge One coffee shop at this time. And actually, we need to be praying for the staff and all that. We had a meeting with them early this week.
They've been so good.
They're amazing.
Our staff have been with us for a long time at Lounge One. We've got so many committed staff members and we've really grown to know and love them. And so it was really really hard to say goodbye to
Yeah.
our staff. I know that the directors and Nikki as cafe manager have really battled back and forward about that, because we love our staff.
Yeah,
They're great.
for sure. And Andy and Beth played a key role. Hattie's played a key role. Now Nikki Jackson and all the team that work there.
Right.
And Alan Cook saying that Lounge One was in the Echo today about the closure of a community cafe.
Oh, it's so sad.
Pretty crazy, eh?
It's really sad.
But what I guess we want to say is right now we're praying as leadership as to what we do with the venue, like whether we do try to move it back to the landlord or whether we rethink what mission, how we can work mission out of that place. Obviously, the season has changed for the community or for society. You know, maybe a coffee shop isn't the best way to serve a community in 2022. Maybe we need to think more creatively. But what we've just decided was actually we need to make a decision and probably say it's time for Lounge One to close. So it's really sad. It is sad. But like with all these things, like as this thing comes to a close, it creates space for something to emerge and open up. And so we're praying into that, thinking about that. But if you've got any questions, you can ask them. People are commenting cool comments and stuff, but no one's asking questions, and that's fine. But the strap line of this broadcast is bring your questions. Now, if you don't bring your questions, all I do is talk to my wife, which I can do without a camera. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. If not, that's fine. We're looking to finish at about 1:15. But yeah, we just want to create a space and a forum where we can just have answer any questions that you may have. But hopefully the email correspondence you've received is quite thorough and you're kind of in the loop on what's going on. Is there anything you want to say, Luby?
Yeah, I think we'd specifically appealing to our Dream Builder community here as well. We'd really value your prayers for what we do next with this space. If it is something that we're going to continue to hold on to, we've got the lease until January 2025, and we're having conversations within that. But it might well be that there's something that we can do, because again, we're not looking to make money from the space. It's not like we need to run something that's that is lucrative. That's not the idea at all. We want to be a presence in the community, and if we can do that through using the Lounge One space, then we would love to do that. Obviously, dependent on resources, dependent on volunteers, dependent on a scope and whether the landlord's happy for us to use the space in that way. But we would welcome your prayers. We would welcome your thoughts. We would welcome any ideas that you may have.
Well, maybe keep your ideas like to yourself for now.
Thought through ideas.
Yeah. All I'm worried about is a million ideas coming to our inbox tomorrow and us going, we don't know how to say that to that.
And this isn't because we're going to then necessarily use your ideas or work them through. But as we're at the moment just coming up with ideas for what we could use this space for, maybe you have some ideas that you would like to put in the pot for us to consider. But I can't imagine there's not that many questions, Dom. I don't think we're going to get 4,000.
Well, I've already got 4,500 emails. Stephen Wood, what's he saying? He's saying a new dad support centre. That's what Stephen Wood's saying.
That's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Leah Wood saying a new wife support centre. Yeah. Okay, so Stephen Wood's got a great question. What does the new team look like with roles and covering the responsibilities Richard had? Great question. So really, the answer to that is Louise has come on team a few hours a week, which is great. And Louise is picking up some of the ministry-related aspect of Richard's role. But there's also a whole heap of practical kind of administrative and organizational responsibilities that Richard has that aren't going to you. And we're covering them in this season. But our goal is to try and bring on team and operations manager, which is cool. That's the plan. We're in the process of building up that job spec at the moment. And so to bring on somebody as an ops manager, not as a leader, but someone who oversees the operational side of Sunnyhill, the administration, the finance, the comms, all of those aspects. And as well as that, utilizing more volunteers, because people have such a heart to serve the church, and we're just trying to find a way. How do we do that well? So that's part of the leadership structure conversation at the moment, because we're trying to work out who carries what responsibility. And sometimes when you don't have those structures, it becomes kind of chaotic because some people fight for the same thing, or sometimes there's just confusion as to who do I ask for permission to do that. And so we just want to bring a bit of clarity to the structure. So three answers to your question, Steve. We've got Louise dealing with the ministry side. supporting ministries, reviewing ministries, helping them with budgets and planning and releasing ministries and all that sort of stuff. We've got an operations manager who will come in and help with the management side of church and trustee business.
There's a lot to organise in a church, isn't there?
There's so much. People don't realise.
No, people just think it's a Sunday service. And there's so much that goes on to making church service happen, but then church happen. Church is a living, moving, breathing organism, isn't it? And it takes a lot to navigate that smoothly and compliantly.
Yes.
And so for sure, we need someone to hold the weight of the administration. To make sure that we're compliant, to make sure that we're operating as an effective charity, and to communicate with everybody who calls Sunnyhill home.
Absolutely. And so along with that as well, a clear leadership structure that will help people find their place and their responsibility, their authority and accountability in going into this next season. Katie Lewis put up a nice message. She says, I just want to say thank you to you, Dom, in particular.
No, she doesn't say that. Dominic.
And whatever Louise has done as well. But Dom, primarily you. I just want to say thank you for the clear and full communication. It has been really helpful. That's good to hear. Sometimes we worry that we're flooding inboxes. Sometimes we worry that we're kind of putting too much out there news. But because there's been like just a train load of like stuff that's been going on. And like I say, so many conversations that have been going on for months now all coming to a climax where they're now happening at one time. It is what it is. For me and Louise, we kind of feel a sense of excitement. We're not daunted. We're kind of mindful that it's not going to be straightforward, that there's going to be a lot of added workload for the initial kind of transition. But, we think that actually God is doing something new, and that's just not kind of churchy rhetoric. This is like serious, like what Wayne Swift brought a couple of Sundays ago when he really prophesied at the opening of his message about that. I thought that really resonated with me, this idea of new season. And it's not just because some furniture's shifting, but because I think God is almost overhauling the heart of Sunnyhill, and there is an increased desire for his presence and a desire, an increased hunger to kind of grow in our walk with Jesus. And so, all these things are shifting, and I think it just creates an opportunity not to rebuild what was, but to build something new that God is calling us toward. And so really excited about that. Any additional comments, Luby? We've got 7 minutes left.
I guess I want to honour all the people that have worked really hard in this season.
Yes.
That have carried extra weight as people have put things down. Nothing's stopped. Have you noticed that? As we've had phenomenal, great legends put things down, we've still been able to carry on as a church and pick up new challenges and embrace new ministry. And so I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody in our church community, all those who serve in a voluntary capacity, for just being willing to kind of shoulder with us the extra burden of not having people paid in a paid capacity oversee these particular areas of ministry. So thank you to everybody. And there's too many to list, and I know I'd accidentally miss one and offend someone, but just I know that there's so many, and I can see all your faces in my head.
I can recall all the list because I'm so good at pastoring. Just saying. Really Carrie Scampton's online. Carrie and John, so good to see you. This is like a throwback to like the days of lockdown. That was one of the great things about lockdown. I mean, there wasn't many great things, but one of the good things was our paths kind of got stronger with the Scamptons. Says, hello, dynamic duo. So lovely to hear you live, particularly you, Dom.
It doesn't say that. This is how he generally reads things. He just reads compliments into words that aren't there.
I find it really helps me as a leader just to assume that when I speak, everyone loves me. Because if I thought about the truth, it might demotivate me somewhat. I might move to Wales, I might jump in the boot with Richard. Carrie's saying she hopes you feel better soon, Louise.
Thank you, Carrie.
What is wrong with you, Louise? Is it stress?
No, it's just illness. It's November. Ooh, the dog's pushing me. I'm on a swivel chair.
Not a euphemism.
The dog's pushed me over.
Oh, man. So anyways, Carrie, we've been having your pastors over here recently. We had Ruth earlier. We had Wayne like a couple of weeks ago. Absolute legend, eh?
Phenomenal.
Absolute legend.
Such a blessing to us.
So ultimately, that's the news of Sunnyhill at this time. We're also thinking through our online kind of ministry as well in terms of how that's going to look. I'm suggesting to Louise that we just do a Wednesday live every Wednesday like this at lunchtime. I think it's fun. It doesn't take a whole lot of prep, and it's kind of fun, kind of just bigging myself up.
Yeah, you love it. Any excuse, Don Bird. Any excuse.
But yeah, I mean,
Thank you for giving your lunch break to us.
it may be a reducing audience that participates, but hey, as long as we're having fun, that's the main thing. But yeah, so any closing questions before we sign off? Feel free to put them in the chat. Be good to engage with. Is there anything else happening at Sunnyhill? We've got loads of stuff happening this Christmas, haven't we? But
oh my goodness, we've got so. Do you want me to talk about that? What's happening this Christmas? So many exciting Christmas things. I'm having like 11 different conversations with all these phenomenal people that want to do something for a particular demographic group this Christmas. So we've got our youth Christmas event, next gen Christmas event coming up. So that's our secondary school age kids.
Yeah.
And they're going to be, or actually, I don't want to say I don't even know whether I'm supposed to say, but they're going to be having a great night. Hanging out. We've got a big Friday night youth group that meets at the junction, and we're going to invite all of those guys to come as well. So It's not just a Sunnyhill youth; it's our community youth.
What is it? 11 up to 40? Is that?
Yeah, you wish. And then we've also got our women's event as well. But I'm not going to say what that is because that's going to be announced on Sunday in quite a special way. So you're going to have to come to the Sunnyhill Pool campus because I don't think Fernand are going to have the same thing, but we'll do something else. And the Sunnyhill Pool campus is going to be a bit of a giveaway on Sunday morning for announcing the women's Christmas event, and then the men are getting together as well. And then I don't know too much about that one.
I assume it will be a curry.
It will be food based.
A Christmas curry. I don't know what it is, but men like to eat.
We have a group meeting again for our kind of older generation, our seniors.
Yeah.
And they're meeting at Christmas too. So it's going to be loads of Christmas stuff. And this morning we got together talked about our carol service.
Yeah, that's going to be good. On the 11th of December, we've got our carol service happening at 6 p.m. at Magna Academy, and that's going to be so cool. We've got some cool plans, and it's all going to be on the theme of preparation. We've got some great ideas. We're looking forward to that. Yeah. And we've got a Christingle service on Christmas Eve. Happening over at Longham at the URC church on the corner there. Ferndown campus are going to be kind of leading the charge on that. And then on Christmas morning, we have a Christmas morning service that Louise is going to completely organise independently. And I may be present. I might be, but Louise is going to carry the weight of that, I think.
Sure, no worries. And I'll cook and I'll do all the presents.
You heard it here first, guys.
Doing it all.
She's doing it all.
I won't be able to speak by then. Maybe it's stress.
Say, aren't you from Switzerland? The Swiss Army wife.
Oh, that was impressive.
Okay, cool. So we've got 2 minutes left. No questions coming in. I just assume that everyone's kind of in the loop.
Everyone's on board then. I like that we did this, didn't we? We opened up a parents' evening for parents to come and ask questions. And not many parents had any questions. Lots of parents came, but not many parents had questions.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's great. But here's your opportunity. If you have questions, this is your moment to...
Because if you come up to me on Sunday with a question, I'm going to la 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 la.
You missed your moment.
I don't want to know.
That ship has sailed.
Oh,
There's lots of nautical themed comments this morning.
Come on, can you think of another 2 or 3?
No. Under pressure, I'm not very good at stuff like that.
Can
you?
Well, let me think about this. No.
1 minute left.
1 minute left, guys. Well, it's been great to have you online with us today. Thank you for tuning in to this broadcast. Are all the new leaders going to be volunteers or paid? What a great question, Alan. That's excellent.
Yeah, under the wire with that one, Alan.
Yeah. So it's going to be a mixed bag, ultimately, of paid and non-salaried. We're keen to add non-salaried leaders to that team because for the last few years, it's been a staff leadership team, which is cool. But the problem with that is you're vulnerable when your staff feel a call to go somewhere else. Whereas if you've got unpaid leaders, generally, they're in a rhythm of working locally. And they just bring a sense of constance and all that sort of stuff. So it will be a mixture, but we're not looking to employ leaders coming on team. It's really a healthy dynamic, I think, to have an eldership mixed of both, which is really cool.
So our ops manager that we're looking to employ isn't going to sit at an SLT level.
Yeah, no, that's not the plan anyways.
It's not the plan. We're not looking for someone to be a spiritual oversight as well as an operational administrator.
Yeah. Colin is saying, I vote Leaders Disco Christmas Party.
Oh, come on. Do you remember we did that? Leadership, when we did the leadership.
Yes.
What was it? That's another nautical question.
Leadership.
Leadership Christmas.
Yeah, we
took all the volunteer leaders on a cruise ship.
What's great
I
now
mean, it was
is
the
we've lost.
Brownsea Island cruise ship.
Everyone's left now, so what's cool is we could probably just take a dinghy out of Poole Park.
A cheaper river cruise.
Pat Singleton saying, thanks, Dom and Louise. Pat Singleton, we love you.
Oh, my days,
What a
I'm
cherished member of Sunnyhill she is. She's an
beautiful.
amazing woman. Great to have you online with us today. Richard G saying, who will you miss the most in January? Who will I miss the most? What does that mean? Richard, can you clarify? Oh, out of you and Charmaine, do you mean? Maybe that's what he means. Maybe he's trying to pull a David Brent on us.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
This joke has been
what's
going on
really
10
funny is,
years.
joking aside, is on our Fire Mountain broadcast that we
Oh
had
my
on Sunday
gosh.
night, which you should watch if you haven't seen it, because it will help you get a sense of the heart of Richard and myself as we talk about Richard going. You know, it's kind of interesting that, like, Anne Painter commented on there, and it was totally genuine. Like, so Richard saw it on there. She says, "I'm really going to miss Charmaine." No reference of Richard at all.
It's like,
it's brutal.
It's like the absence of the compliment
Yeah.
was an insult there.
Yeah. Oh, and if you know Anne Painter, she's such a
so
wonderful
sweet.
woman.
She wouldn't have
She's
meant it
so
like
sweet,
that.
but she just put, "I'm really going to miss Charmaine."
Yeah, Charmaine.
Richard who?
Sorry. What?
Does Charmaine have to go as well? So Richard's saying,
That is funny.
who will you miss the most in January? He says, must be someone who is leaving. They need to have a beard.
Oh,
Maybe are from South Africa.
Oh,
I
that's
see.
hard. That's a hard one, isn't it?
Has Toby got a beard?
No, but he might have by January.
I imagine the next time we'll see him after they leave,
probably
Toby's looking more
Yeah,
like a
probably
man than
Toby.
his father. It's
Yes.
crazy at the moment. Okay, Richard, it's gonna be you.
Right, okay.
It's gonna
That
be
got
you.
awkward.
It's gonna
That
be you.
got awkward for Richard.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Our closing words to you are simply keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, and he's building his church. And as leaders, you know, myself, Louise, Adam, through Richard said that backfired, Colin and Joe, and those who will be coming on team in the new year, we are excited and expectant for the future. And this is just a part of our story. It's a chapter that's turning, but we feel ultimately at peace and full of hope and excited. And, you know, just to reiterate again, we love these people. Hopefully they love us. The relationship's good. Just a new season, a new day. Any closing words from you, Luby Lou?
No, I think you said it all. Thank you so much for joining us. We've really enjoyed being with you. And we look forward to seeing you go. Well, actually, you're not there on Sunday, are you?
Wow. Oh, actually, before you say that, but no, I'm preaching. I'm preaching. Sorry, yeah, I'm preaching somewhere, so that'll be for preaching at Hereford and in Walsall on Sunday. So two places, so not around. But don't let that put you off not coming to church. You're still most.
Even more welcome now.
Even more welcome. I love it. Like if there's a bumper Sunday, queues going out the door.
Like, well, Dom's not here. I'm in.
I'm in. Let's play. I do need to show you this video though. Check this.
Yeah, hi Gary. I've just seen your advert in the newsagent's window.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There's no need for an accountant. The answer is minus £5,000.
How good? How good is that? I love it. Don't need an accountant, mate. That's the thing now. I'm going to struggle because if I ever see that, I want to see that sign. I want to see it. Do the subtraction. Anyways, have a fantastic week. Great to see you. Look forward to seeing you at the weekend. Hope you have a great time at small groups this week. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email. I was joking when I said don't talk to me on Sunday. Email them into office@sunnyhill.church. But if you check the mail outs, then hopefully there's quite a thorough explanation about what's going on. But thanks for tuning in today. We love you guys so much. And remember, if you're not a dream builder and you want to be a dream builder, go to the mail out and you can register through the mail out. Have a blessed week.